All right. Good morning. And as usual, let's get started. And today we will start with 1 minute of silence. In this period of silence, we will be completely aware of our surroundings, our inner self, that is physical body, and our inner state of being. Just observe, just be an aware person of your surrounding as well as yourself. All right. So today the session that I've planned was to quickly run through a recap of what we discussed yesterday, and today what are the other things that we left yesterday, like the Swiss technique we are talking about, or something to do with submodalities, as well as something to do with association and dissociation. Of course, these are all comes from the NLP background. And what we can do today is like, I'll just quickly recap one more time. But then, from yesterday to today, there is one quick shift within me in terms of understanding it. So, for an example, yesterday I mentioned about there are two states of being. One is mindful being, the other one is mindless being. So, though the mindless is, sometimes we can get carried away with the thoughts itself, and we will be in the zone of completely filled with thoughts. And yesterday, when I was just thinking again of the two states, like mindful, mindless, I somehow felt the mindless is it is a little bit of more confusing because we getting carried away in the thoughts as well as we are in the state of flow or away out of mind as well. So I thought maybe it will be much more clear if I just say that three states being mind filled state or mindful, it is full state, that is mind filled, that is when we are completely in our thoughts, in our mind, that is mind filled. And then the mind full state is being aware of what we are, what we are experiencing, what we are going through. It is a kind of a mindful state. And mindless state is primarily when we are completely lose track of the mind. That is especially when we are talking about we being in the zone of artist or being in the zone of flow. While we are in the flow, we lose track of time because the time doesn't matter, because we become one with the art or the painting or what we are doing. So we lose track of time. That is mindless state. So that is a good mindless state, is the very productive state wherein you are expressing ourselves. The other way is probably which we reach around by addictions or any kind of a binge watching TVs and etc. So that is a subtle small difference that what we are talking about. And that being said, from yesterday's recap that we went through few of the other things, when you're talking about the first one being a victim mindset. The victim mindset is the things are happening to me, the other external situation are the ones which are influencing me, and my action, my behavior, everything is depends on someone else, the outside situation. And also we beat our own self with the negative mind voices. It can be I'm not good enough and I'm unworthy, or I cannot cope up with these things anymore. We constantly beat ourselves and we get stressed, anxious, and etc. So this is the another state of victim mindset. From victim, we are talking about taking responsibility. And when you're taking responsibility, we talked about how we can be in the place of inner stillness, wherein we can be a better person to respond to a situation instead of reacting to it. So one of the sessions, like Siddharth wrote also, it is about reaction as well as response. So when you're taking full responsibility, we are much more of an aware person. And that's what we talked about yesterday when it comes to that. And then going deeper, one more level is to identify what thoughts, emotion, feelings are getting created and segregate them and say that I am not my thought, I am not the feeling, I am the experiencer of it. So that way we get detached. And from there, the place of detachment, the fourth state comes in is we completely isolate all those things and we don't allow them to disturb us. And that is what the place we are talking about as inner stillness. When we don't get affected by any of those things. So that being said, then we can move on to how, when, especially yesterday we started off with how do we handle problems and challenges when it comes to our life. So when we are talking about that, the first and foremost thing that comes in is the easy thing. The easy thing, what I mean is a shortcut or the tool or some techniques which can help us come out of it. So though it may sound fancy and good and all those helpful and etc., but in my understanding or in my view at this point in time, how I see those tools, techniques, and any kind of a support thing is, it is like having a crutch. It is some toolbox that we want, and then we can access it whenever we want it. It becomes handy, but then when we develop a dependency towards it, we always need that. It is like a medicine or a pill that we may take it for or changing our internal state. It can be antidepressant or the diabetes control, right? So the moment we attach to those pills or those tools, we may need it again and again to help us come out of it. And somehow that I find it is not a efficient way, because when you're talking about in our life, a situation comes, situation goes. However, if we are not able to selfly, by ourselves address it, then we need all those tools. To give you a small example, the one of the example I read when I was a school going kid. So that example goes like this: like there is a difference between positive thinking and rational thinking. So the positive thinking is as if, if there is a dead rat in the house, you smell it. You clearly know there is something is smelling, and then you want to remove that out of the house, and but you don't know where it is, right? So what you do is, okay, what am I feeling? I am feeling a bad smell, right? So that is what I cannot take the smell anymore. So what you may do is, you can put a perfume around the room or the room freshener, or you may even the incense, you can just burn one of those things, and for a momentary period you may feel good because that smell is overlooked or overshadowed by a good smell. So that it becomes make you pleasant and feel good. However, after all those effects of perfume goes away, the smell of the dead rat is going to come up again and again. So that is a classic thinking of thinking positive, like how we are talking about making use of any tools. On the other side is what is rational thinking or going deep, objectively thinking is when we think objectively, we are going deeper into a problem. So when it trying to understand the problem in a deeper perspective. So as I said, in the example of the dead rat, one way is you can spray from perfume and then mask the smell. So you don't smell the dead rat smell anymore. That is like going to, having attach, attachment to all the tools and techniques. Whereas the rational way is going away and finding the rat. Where is the dead rat? What is causing the smell? Where can I find it? And gently take the rat out of the house and throw it out. So that way you're fixing a problem in a long term. So there are two people joined. So probably I will quickly re uh, rewind a bit and then talk to them about what we are talking about. So because yeah, Tanaji and Shibani, they missed it yesterday as well. So to give you a quick context, I will run through it. I'm sorry, Selvi and Reshma, and we'll just quickly run through it. So yesterday we talked about there are different states we be in: mindful, mindless, and mind-filled state. The mindful state is being one with the thoughts, filled with the thoughts, getting lost in the thought. And mindless or mindful state is being aware of what is happening within our mind. It can be any kind of an emotion. Okay. Uh, yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. So what we were discussing is There are three states: mind filled state, when we are lost in our thoughts and our emotions and feeling, we're not thinking or seeing it from outside a perspective. That is mind filled state. And then when you're talking about a mindful state, it is being an observer. Like the thoughts are like a river stream, and then you are observing it from a river bed. And then there is one more state that we talked about is mindless state. Mindless state is no more riverbed, no more river, but then you're focusing on one thing, what you're doing. So that can be given an example as being in a flow state. Being in a flow state, you be one with the work, what you're doing, whereas no thought, emotion, or a feeling or outside situation matters to you. You have just become one. And that is also some level of, we are talking about being in the stillness as well. You become one with things. So that being said, we went on to talk about the different types of mindsets or the different patterns, like how we evolve. The first one is a victim mindset. The victim mindset is anything from outside can control my inner state. That is, anything from other people, situation, and external factors can disturb and affect me. That's the first place of victim. And also some level of self-talk. The self-talk, what we talked about is, I am not good enough, or I'm unworthy of something. I'm unworthy of love. I'm unworthy of affection. I'm unworthy of some money or anything. So if we feel unworthy towards certain things, and the third thing also, we say that I cannot cope up with this thing anymore. We just kind of, we feel stressed and we want to bust out. So these are all a place of we being victim to outside as well as our inner state. The second place, what I talked about, is taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is you own the situation. Whatever happening to me, I am the one who's controlling it. When I say that, I am not my emotion, but I am the creator of the emotion. I am not my thought, but I am the creator of the thought. So that way, you take some level of responsibility to any situation, and then you see it from a very objective place. The thoughts are different. I am different. I am not becoming one with all these emotions. You separate yourself. That's the second place. And the third thing is you separate them, you become an observer, separate them as a, okay, I'm witnessing all these emotions, experiences, or all these thoughts are happening to me. I'm experiencing this. Rather than saying that I am stressed, you will say I am feeling stressed or I'm experiencing stressed. So that level of this is quick separation comes in. And then you go to a place that you no more get disturbed by external factor or your own inner thought voice or mind voice or the emotion. You don't get disturbed. So this is what we talked about. And then we moved on to talk about the tools. The tools, when one of the session the couple of days back, most people, they said, what is a quick fix tool that we can make use of? So, and then I was giving an example. That's when Tanaji and Shibani, they joined. So it is like this, right? So the tools and techniques are good. It is like a quick, the help that we can get, right? So if I get a headache, we can take a paracetamol and say, okay, the headache is gone. But then if the headache is coming again and again, maybe we need to go and get it checked. So relying on tools can be addictive in nature as well, because we are depending on something, though it may be worked within us, but then we are using that as a crutch, which can come and help us. So the tools and techniques, how I see is, at this moment, it is like that, right? It is good to have, especially when you're going through it, when you're not able to come out of a specific situation or an emotion. It helps. In a long term, it needs rational introspection of what is causing it within us. So that being said, I talked about one quick and a small story of dead rat. Dead rat is, there is a smell that is coming from a dead rat, and then you see know what where it is coming from. I mean, you know that there is a bad smell, and to mask it, we can spray a perfume and or a room freshener and get rid of it. It is something like a quick fix or a quick tool, right? So that may mask the whole smell, you don't smell it anymore. But that doesn't take away the fact that the dead rat is still there, out there in some corner or somewhere hidden inside you, right? So unless or otherwise you go and find the rat and take it out, it is still going to be there. It may once, and I mean, after the perfume smell goes away, that comes back, the bad smell comes again. So it is something like that. So any emotion, in my view, at this understanding of inner stillness is, it is not to go with a kind of a quick fix, maybe for a couple of times, but in the long run, it is always beneficial if you go and find what is causing it and detach ourselves from that in a different way. When I say detach, non-attachment, right? In a different way. So that being said, let's quickly talk about okay, so let's finish it off with yesterday. Also, I'm unable to share this, so I will start with that. So one of the teacher, like the is David Lee, and he's a Taoist teacher, and he talks about how to introspect the thoughts or emotion that we are experiencing. So what he says is there are two types of feelings or two types of emotion, if we can put in a bucket. One is one is kind of a red flag or a red light emotions. Another one is a green light emotion. So what he talks about red light emotion is any kind of a negative emotion. It can be stress, anxiety, fear, sadness, or it can be anything. It can be a depression, discomfort, anything we are talking about. He puts it under a one bucket of red light emotions. And then he talks about the other side of emotion is a green light emotion, where we feel good, we feel joyous, we feel still, or we feel happy and blissful, etc. So that is another side of a thing, green light and red light. So at the first level, what has to happen is we need to be aware when we are going through that red light signal or the red flag. And the reason why he prefers to use it as a red light is, instead of naming each and every negative emotion, is the moment we go and understand each and every, I mean, trying to understand different negative emotion, there is a multiple emotion attached to it. See, sometimes, when you're talking about sadness, the sadness is may not be a one unique emotion by itself or one particular emotion. It maybe comes with a disappointment as a one thing, or some kind of a fear as a some can be attached to it. So it's kind of a bundled emotion is what generally we feel, right? I'm hope you may be able to relate to it. So generally, whenever we are experiencing it, there are sub thing, there is one main emotion, and there are a lot of smaller emotions as well we feel. So that's why he tries to bundle it all together as one unique emotion, as a red light emotion and a green light emotion. So that way we know that it is not an isolated, but it is bundled together. So whenever we are going through a red light, that first thing what we need to do is we need to first be aware of it. So how do we go and work on anything, even to make use of any tools or techniques, or to perform anything, we need to be aware that we are going through some kind of a negative emotion. That's the first step. And then the second step, what you're talking about it, that you're separating yourself from your thoughts and the thoughts and beliefs. That is, there is a feeling, you acknowledge that feeling. The feeling is, I am feeling sad, keep that away. But then the other side of the equation is there are thoughts, beliefs, which is creating this particular feeling, right? So the separating that I am feeling it from getting lost in the thoughts and your beliefs. Is it clear when I'm saying separating? So the emotion is true because you're feeling it, that is true. And then your mind is telling you why you're feeling it. That is where your thoughts and belief comes in. You separate these two things. And also you separate one more thing is from a place of I am I am sad, I am happy, I am something I am depressed and etc. You separate that I am experiencing sadness, I am experiencing joyful state, I am experiencing anxious. So all these things you separate yourself from the state itself. Instead of saying I am and the state, I am feeling or I'm experiencing. And then comes in is introspection, or you try to question as objectively as possible. When I say that, it is this, first of all, you feel the emotion, and then you say to yourself, where is this emotion is coming from? And then you wait for the answer. It will say, okay, this emotion is coming from say, okay, I'll give you an example of this morning. Just before the session, I wanted to take a shower and get ready for this. And then I was say it is almost 6:35, and then I wanted to get ready and then be here. and my bathroom is filled. I mean, someone is inside and I cannot go in. So what do? I'm feeling stressed at that moment, little bit of stress, right? So, okay, so what can I do now? Right. So I've just planned it elaborately. Like, I have to wash my hair today, and then I have to shave, trim my beard and etc. But then there is a moment of sense of feeling that went inside me. And then I ask myself, where is that feeling coming from? Okay, somebody's occupied the bathroom and that's why you're feeling this. Okay, so what can I do now? Oh, why don't you use the other bathroom? But then my things are not there. So all my things are in this bathroom. So I have to use this only. Okay, so what else you can do? Okay, I have to wait. I can ask the person, and then I wait. I waited, and then the person came out. And then the next thing that happens is I go inside, I see the mirror is like, filled with the steam. Like, obviously with the hot water, the mirrors are covered with the steam. So I cannot trim my beard today, right? Okay, so can pour the water and make it settle down. Or I can decide that it is not so important. Probably what is important is the class or the session, not my beard trimming it. So can I keep it today? Yes, keep it. And do I really need to, I mean, it's already late. Do I really need to, like, shampoo it, condition all my hair? No. What can I do? I can do it later. That's fine. What is more important? It is me getting to the session at the right time. So you're breaking down, right? I'm just trying to break down all these things, and then you feel that, okay, nothing to be worried, nothing to be, like, tensed about. You go calm. So that's what is a quick example that I can come up with as we are talking. So that way you're separating your emotion and feeling, and then start questioning it objectively. So that is first thing is, where is it coming from? And what kind of a belief of mine is triggering this emotion or this feeling? And you can go further down with why. Why do I feel this? Or why I believe this is the way to do things. So probably these steps, I can share it with you on the WhatsApp. So probably that becomes a self-inquiry steps for you to practice whenever you're going through a negative emotion, right? So that way you will get a better understanding of what it is. So, and then comes, like, if you go down and down and down, then you will automatically find your inner place of stillness. That is, you're detached completely from your thoughts, your emotions and feelings. So that being said, yeah, so there is one more quick thing. So sometimes, like, there is a situation that comes in is our mind also blocks us out. When I say the mind blocks us out, it will say, I don't know. The mind simply says, if you start questioning it too much of your mind will block you out. It will shut the door, like, literally on your face, saying that, I don't know. I don't know why I'm feeling bad. I don't know why I'm feeling anxious, but I am anxious. I don't know why I'm feeling depressed, but I'm depressed. Because that is your mind cope up mechanism to shut the door so that you don't go deeper. So there you may need a little more of a help to go drill down to the deep, drill down to understand what's happening. So that maybe you may need some level of deeper introspection or someone's help as well. And that is fine as well. So I just quickly want to point that out. So that being said, yesterday we talked about switch technique, and I'm just still thinking, like, it's already 7:30 right now, 7:32. And this technique will take at least 10 to 15 minutes to explain, right? So that we may not do the practice or a kind of meditation or visualization. We won't be doing it. But then I can take the next 15 minutes to go through this, if you're okay with it. Selvi, I know that the time is something that you value most, and you ran out of time. So what do you think, Selvi?
I'm fine today.
All right. Thank you. So, all right. So let's go with the switch technique, what we talked about yesterday. So I shared a video link, and I'm not sure how many of you went through and how many of you didn't go through it. But then the switch technique is a quick technique to change our inner state or a habit, or, like, how we feel instantly. When I say instantly is, there is some kind of a trigger, and then there is a response. The Swiss technique, what people talk about is primarily to change the response. So for an example, if my son gets into the room, and then, I mean, like, when he's really cranky and angry, what he does is, like, he run into the room and shut the door so strong. and then the whole building will vibrate, right? The entire apartment will shake, like, so it is crazy. So that point in time, though whatever maybe, like, I'm just trying to say inner stillness, but that time, like, that my core is, like, shaking ups and down. So there, probably I can use the technique. I can visualize the Swiss technique is, this is my, the standard response is saying, like, calling him Adit, don't do this. Whereas I can also do, maybe I can do the same Swiss technique along with you to say that I will just shout out, I love you. For an example, I would say, instead of saying, like, threatening him or make him scared with my sound, rather I can say, I love you as well, right? So it is just a response. So the trigger is my son getting into the room and closing the door, and my response, the present response, is to shout or yell at him with a high tone by calling his voice, I mean name. I don't do anything more beyond that, but I shout out by calling his name. And now today, along with you, I can shift that focus into saying I love you. That's one of the way that the Swiss technique works. So to, before we go into the Swiss technique, it also, we need to understand a bit about association and dissociation. So these are all coming from NLP, the neuro linguistic programming, which I have done, like, some 8 years ago. I have done this NLP and NLP courses, like practitioners, master practitioners, and etc. So if you find it useful, probably you can explore more of this NLP techniques as well, like, at your own pace you can explore it. So to give you a glimpse of what is association and disassociation is, the association is like when I am completely immersed into the situation, right? I'm not able to differentiate and step out and see. That becomes an association. Like, you associate it with the situation, you are inside that emotion, inside the frame. I mean, when I say inside the frame, you're completely attached to it. Whereas disassociated is you becoming an observer. That is where the awareness, it is like awareness. You slightly take one step back and you're being an observer of what is happening. And you're detaching yourself. You're become an observer. Not just no more you are a victim of situation, but you're an observer who's in third party. I mean, you're witnessing what's happening. That's the first thing to understand. And the second, very important thing to understand is something called submodalities. The submodalities in NLP terms are, see, though we see certain things, there are two types of images, right? One, that presently whatever you're seeing is your visual sense. You're seeing the screen and listening to what I'm speaking and etc. That is happening from external. There is a mental image that we always form, right? If you close your eyes, if you bring up any memory from uh, say last evening, right? From last evening, any memory that you can actually see it in your mind, just take a few seconds to just see what happened last evening. Take a second to visualize that. So now, if you are actually associated, like, if you've gone into the last evening memory, then you can actually clearly see what happened last evening. That is a mental vision, right? It is not what is you're seeing it right now, but that is a mental image you already have. It is like the giant recorder, the video recorder that's happening. It's just taking all this information inside your mind, right? So that is a mental image or mental video I'm talking about. And then I'm sure that you also must be able to see what you have seen, like, what you seen, what you felt, and what you heard. All your senses, all the five senses, you can feel it, including, like, the taste. If you had a dinner, I'm sure that you will be able to recollect what was the taste like. Whatever the food that you ate last night, you can bring that also and then feel that the taste in your mouth, right? So though you're not eating, you can still engage your senses. If you're not hearing anything right now, but you can, from your memory, you can hear things. From your memory, you can see things. From your memory, you can feel things. So all these things are the memory and the internal things. So that is what called submodalities. The submodalities is, what is happening within us. It is not from outside of us. And that being said, how it is going to impact in the Swiss technique today is what we're talking about is the submodalities are the way that we can get away from certain situation. And it is a very powerful technique because I witnessed it when one of the situation that I was just trying to forget, like some 8 years ago, yeah, roughly 7 to 8 years ago, when I had an incident and I'm just trying to forget that specific incident. And that was running in my mind for so long, like, and it was bothering me. I was not able to let go of that, that specific situation and the incident. And it was bothering me so much. Whenever I go there, I feel terrible. I used to feel so terrible that I feel all the negative emotion used to play dance inside my head, right? So the submodalities and disassociation is, for an example, there is a one situation, say some argument that I got into, and I that is bothering me so much. I want to let go of that specific situation. So what I will do is I will imagine myself presently in that situation. Whatever the situation I want to let go of it, I will completely take myself into the situation. I will imagine, I close my eyes. I'll imagine as if that situation is happening at this moment. And what I will do is I will experience what I saw, what I heard, what I felt, and what I heard, felt, touched, smelled, everything. All those emotion I will engage, and I will be in that place. In fact, I can see that if there is another person involved, I will see that person as vividly as possible. By seeing that, what I will do the next thing is, if I want to let go of the situation, what I will do is, first level, how I will be seeing is like, it is a real time thing. First level is that. And what I will do, I will probably change the color of it. Instead of colorful thing, I may change the color into black and white, right? No more color to it. And then if it is like, a box, a picture I'm seeing, I will make the picture so small and blurred and etc. So that is, you're playing around with your memory now. You're literally taking out that memory, and then you played with the memory so much that you shrink it so tiny, so it doesn't affect you so much. You take away all the colors from it. If somebody is like, telling you something, you have the power to mute them in the memory, right? Maybe in the real life, you cannot mute someone or what the other person is saying. But in your memory, when you're taking it, you can actually make that memory like, squeaky, right? The other person is speaking, but then whatever he speaks, or he or she, that is like, uh, like a Donald Duck speaking, right? You can recreate in any ways that you want. It is up to your imagination. That is to do something to do work with submodalities as a way, right? So I'm not sure how many of you are really clear with this idea. I will share a link, go through it, maybe understand what it is. It is a very powerful in a way. And it also applicable for the positive thing. If you want to enhance any kind of an experience. For an example, a sports people, like, Usain Bolt, he used to say that is running the track only once. However, he can run in the track 1,000 times in his mind. That is kind of a mental rehearsal. Your mind is getting conditioned, though you're physically or not running. Probably you might have taken one round, but mentally you can engage all your emotion, feeling, thoughts, and your whole body, and then you can visualize running. So that way, when you're on the track, that comes so handy for people. There is also, we can talk about as a mental rehearsals, right? So if I'm going to give a big speech in front of thousands of people or something, I can run this whole thing in my memory and then be prepared. So that way that doesn't come as a surprise, or I don't get disturbed. So that is about mental rehearsals and submodalities. So if you have any doubts, we can talk about it after this exercise. And for now, let's get into Swiss technique, and we will try to see how we can do it. So for this technique, it is important that you take one situation from your life that you want to change. Take any situation. If for, since you're doing it, if you're doing it for the first time, I would suggest take a specific situation or a specific behavior, specific, just mentally, right? Just take one thing. It can be a conversation with someone, or it is your own behavior. It can be anything. Just take that. So the moment you have one situation that you want to change, right? You don't want to the situation to affect your mind, your inner stillness, then you take that situation. So once you're ready, keep that what is the situation away. Now think of another situation, like, for an example, in that situation someone is speaking to you and then you're responding it in certain way. So now you may want to change that situation or your inner feeling. So it is something, it is better if it is something which is in your control. You cannot change someone else, like, the responses, but you can control your response. So now, in the same situation, what is the alternate thing that you want to do? Think of that. In the same situations, say it is between two people and someone is telling you something and then you're feeling some emotion here, and instead of feeling a negative emotion you wanted to feel the positive emotion. Think of what that will be. So what you want to feel, what you want to experience, just think of that. So when you're ready, now you have the old situation and the the response that you want to do. So now, as a first step, you can first close your eyes gently and immerse yourself into that specific situation. Bring back that memory, whatever you thought of, the situation you desire to change or you desire to change your response. Bring the memory to you at this moment. Immerse yourself completely into that situation. Feel what you felt, see what you saw, and hear what you heard. Experience it as if you're living that situation right now. You are in that place and you're experiencing the same feeling, the same emotion. Everything is you're experiencing it right now. Take a good look at the situation where you are. Like, just look at the surrounding in your memory. Now, particularly pay attention to what was the thing that triggered your specific emotion within you. Is it a word? It is a situation, or is it a visual trigger? Or what is it? Is it a something what triggered your inner state to change? Your inner state of being calm to the one who experienced the negative emotions. What triggered that specific emotion? Be an observer of that emotion. So as you are experiencing that place, like you're in that a moment where the situation, the unwanted situation that happened, now it's also important to bring an attention to what is the other situation, the alternate thing that you want to happen, or the other alternate response of yours, which will help you to stay with your inner state of mind. Maybe it is one action, the small action that you may have to take. So for me, it is to take a deep breath. Whenever I feel some kind of a discomfort within me, my anchor is to my breath. That is my technique. My Swiss technique is my breath. The moment I take a deep breath, it settles everything down inside me. So that way, it can be a breath for you. Or it can be some way of gently you're doing, like, you're snapping your fingers, or you're tapping one of your arms. It can be anything. Literally, it can be anything. But just the moment you identified your inner state is changing, you need one cue which will put you to the positive state. Decide what is it going to be. Is it your breath? Is it like, stretching your hands? Is it you're snapping your finger? Take only one thing. Don't take all, take one thing which will help you. The moment you decided that, experience the situation as it is, like how it happened, and now perform the action that we talked about. Like, that either it's a breath, snapping a finger, stretching your hands, it can be anything. Perform the action that you decided, and then try to feel the inner stillness at this moment, or the inner calmness that comes with it. In the snap of your finger, you're reaching your inner stillness. Or the snap of your finger, you're reaching. Or snap of your, the moment you observe your breath, you're reaching your inner stillness. It can be anything. Just perform and observe right now, being in the same situation, but just one thing that has changed is your inner state. Your inner state is no more affected by the situation. It is much more of a peaceful place which you always wanted, which you always desired. Feel there, be there. So, as you're witnessing the inner stillness, the inner peace, so and you understand that the external situation doesn't have a control over you, but you have a control over to change your inner state. With this awareness, let's bring in, like, let's for a moment, let's go off all these thoughts for a moment, like, all those memory that you were in, let go of that, and all the altered state that you want to be in, let go of that as well. Free your mind for a moment. Free your mind. Now, once again, you bring back the first old emotion, which troubles you most often. Bring that back. Live in that experience. Live as if it's happening to you. Feel what you felt, saw what you saw, hear what you heard, everything, you being there. The moment you are fully in that place, now it's time to change few things with your old memory, which is not helping you anymore. It is just causing you more pain than anything. So you gently take away all the colors from the scene. All of a sudden, it is looking like a black and white picture right in front of you. You no more see any colors to it. It is just faded. It is blurry. It is not clear to you anymore. Feel it. Feel that things that changing, how the scene changes in your mind to black and white, blurry. And if your situation involves some other person, and the person is speaking something which is triggering it to you, it's triggering that specific emotion in you, just you can change his voice into, like, your broken recorder. How the broken recorder will be, like, it goes on, and, like, goes on and goes on and on. It doesn't make any sense. Like, squeaky little sounds is what it is. It doesn't make any sense. Or, like, like, you can, if you like Donald Ducks or something, or some cartoon characters, you can replace that voice with something else. Feel it. When the if the other person is speaking, you're no more listening to the person's voice, but then you're just hearing all the crazy sounds of your favorite cartoon character or like a broken recorder. And now that the whole scene is changed, now it's trying to bring it smaller and smaller. Like, if it is bigger and then you're seeing it so close, see it and then see that, like, it is like becoming small and small. The picture is becoming small and small and small. The whole situation is becoming small. The moment it is so small enough, it becomes so insignificant. And now you can actually pick it in your hand and throw it away. Try that. Just pick it in your hand and throw it away as far as you can. It's no more has any effect on you at this time. Now it's time to let go of that memory. It is gone. As it is gone, now we are trying to create the new level of response, what we want to, and how we can be in a stillness. For this, you bring back the new behavior, the new frame that how you wanted to bring in. So bring that scene right in front of you and see that when you perform that action that you decided, right? So the same situation that is happening, but then this time you have the power to change the situation. Just like, by snapping your fingers, the whole inner stillness can change. Feel that. Or it can be with your breath. One deep breath, you're shifting your whole inner stillness. Feel that. From all the negative emotions, you're feeling the positive place which you always wanted. It is just a snap away, just a breath away. That's all it is. Make this picture so vivid. Add more color to it if you can. See everything so vibrant and colorful, all what you're seeing. If the picture is little bit dull and blurry, make it more clear. It is after all your mind. You can make anything that you want. You can make it so bright and clear. And if it isn't far, you're seeing it is small, make it big. Like, the whole 65 inches TV that you're sitting next close to. Like, it is make it as big as possible. It is as to realistic possible. And all these things are happening just after a snap of your finger or after your deep breath. Things are changing. Feel it, be it, experience it for a moment. Take a mental note of your inner state that you're feeling right now within you. With this acknowledgement, you know that you have a power right in your finger, right in your breath to change things. Change whatever the emotion that you felt and disturbed you. It doesn't have any more power to change your feeling. With that understanding, now it's time to internalize and be one with that feeling and be there. And whenever you're ready, take it as your time to open your eyes and come back to the session. Take your time, and once you're ready, come back to the session. All right, I believe everyone is back. If you're back, so this exercise also needs little more of things. Like when I say little more of practices, you can go back into the same situation. You can bring back the same situation, as well as with the newly understand, like one anchor is like a snap of your finger or a breath. You can keep doing that like a mental rehearsal again and again, so you can see that how your inner state is changing. From instead of getting angry and or you're reacting certain feeling, the negative emotion, instead you can feel the positive ones. Just in the snap of your finger or your breath, you can feel it, whatever the action that you decided. You may have to run it few times mentally, internally. So the moment you start internalizing it again and again, that is when you get a complete benefit of it. Doing one time, it is just to help you understand what it is, but it is up to you. If you can practice that, if you can practice that, the one action, how it is changing, it can become so powerful. So that way you can be with the inner composure, irrespective of the same situation happening to you once again. I hope this brings in some clarity. If not, now we can open up for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please, whatever the experience was it, and if you have any questions, please do ask. Any questions? All right. So then I will take it as no for now, or should we? Okay. So probably if you have any questions that you wanted to reach out, also you can always reach out to me and then ask me, or in the WhatsApp group you can post it. See, this is very useful once you do it fully, right? You immerse yourself fully. So practice it, and I'm available to help you understand it. Even we can do it personally as well, right? If you prefer to do that one more time, I'm open to do that as well. So I'll leave it to you to take a call on it. With that, we come to an end of today's session. Thank you so much for joining. And if you have any questions, you can stay back and ask.